think we will go ahead and get started. My clock says 12:31, so we'll be prompt and on time. So I want to welcome everyone to today's session. My name is Erin Joyner. I'm the Senior Vice President of Product at Cengage for the Higher Ed Business Unit. And I'm delighted to be your moderator today. We are here to talk about a great topic, the future of higher education, and specifically two institutions who've been thinking about how you offer affordable quality learning at scale and across different modalities. In a moment, I will introduce our speakers, but before then, I'll just give you a little bit of context for what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll get into the session. And just a quick housekeeping. At the end of the session, I'm going to try to save 10-15 minutes at the end of the session to take questions from all of you. So as you're sending in questions, we're not ignoring you. We will address them at the end and make sure that there's time for that. So in thinking about today's session, I think we all know, before COVID-19, institutions across the country were really already preparing for the future of higher education and specifically developing strategic plans and partnerships that supported affordable quality digital learning at scale across modalities. And Northcentral Technical College in Wisconsin and Union County College in New Jersey are two of those institutions. And we are happy to have two representatives from those schools with us today. Northcentral Technical College is located in Wausau, Wisconsin. Hopefully I just said Wausau correctly. It enrolls, yeah?
Nailed
awesome. It. It enrolls over 3,000 students and offers 190 programs. Union County College is located in Cranford, New Jersey, has 3 other campuses, and they enroll over 9,000 students, offering over 60 programs. So, as I mentioned, we are lucky to have two gentlemen talk with us today about the work that they've been doing at those institutions. So let me introduce them, our panelists. We have John DeGroot, who is the Dean of Academic Technology at Northcentral Technical College. So hi, John. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
And we have Dr. Bernard A. Polnariev. Sorry, Bernard.
All good.
Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the Scotch Plains campus for Union County. And I practiced that name too. But thanks for joining, both of you. I know you're doing great things at your schools, and I have been for a while, so it's a real treat for others to hear about those. So let's jump right in. I am going to start with a question for both of you, and Bernard, we'll start with you. So as I said earlier, well before COVID-19, institutions were preparing for unforeseen circumstances, such as we find ourselves in today. But if you can both share the key strategies that helped your institutions cope with disruptions like the pandemic, I think that'd be great for people to hear about. So again, Bernard, we'll start with you and then we'll throw it over to John.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you for the introduction and the opportunity. So let's focus for Union County College. We were focused on two large-scale efforts, one on the side of access and one on technology, and trying to marry them. So with regard to access and affordability, of course, one was, of course, the partnership with Cengage, which we started investigating about a year and a half ago, 2 years now. And we launched it last fall and just continue to improve the building out of the courses related to those Cengage offerings and expanding the partnership with Cengage. Number 2, related to access and affordability, was we moved to a model where students can take 12 to 18 credits at the same flat rate tuition. And that was a big boost for us to ensure student access and affordability, both of those efforts. And I'm happy to talk more about them. And on the technology side, we've been involved in another set of initiatives. One is growing our online portfolio. Another one is what's called virtual desktop inventory or infrastructure rather, excuse me. And that really, for us, especially in this moment of the pandemic, allowed our students access virtually to gain access to all the needed software for their courses. So those are just two large-scale efforts from different parts that we're focused on to support our students and institution.
And thank you, Erin, again for having me as well and introducing me. Talk a little bit about the strategies that we have. One is just the academic excellence team that I'm a part of. As the Dean of Academic Technology, I am kind of that bridge between learning and IT so that we can very rapidly provide technology solutions to our learning team. On the team that I'm on, we have the instructional designers who, of course, help the faculty create and develop that teaching and learning. And we have our faculty coach who works very closely with our faculty in getting them used to some of that technology. And then we also have the library who provides access and content for their course in an affordable manner, whether it's OER or whether it's Cengage, assisting Cengage in finding those resources for our faculty. Beyond that, we have a very large virtual college. We have a considerable number of programs that are fully online in a flexible anytime start. As long as they complete their assignments at the end of the semester, they're good to go. And when we develop curriculum, we always develop to that standard. So whenever we can, there are of course situations where it's difficult to create a course that is fully flexible online. But whenever we can, we always develop it that way. That sets us up in case we do run into a situation such as we're in now. And beyond that, even if a course cannot be fully online or we can't develop it that way, there's always an online Canvas component. So every single course of ours has their syllabus within Canvas, their grades within Canvas, their instructor information. So there's a base for every single course. So every faculty was familiar with Canvas and able to move into it quickly. Beyond that, we have some support pieces in place. Our team, of course, the academic excellence team, but we also have a support course within Canvas that is available to all faculty, and it provides technology resources, instructional design resources, library resources. And then we also have a support course for our students that every single student has access to, which is, again, technology, that academic resource, so tutoring and different resources available to help them in their success. So a lot of those pieces that we put in place are there to set us up for success in this situation. And the final thing I want to touch on is just having that technology portfolio that instructors can use to either to facilitate courses synchronously or to put into courses with engaging content, whether that be a tool like Go React, which allows students to very easily submit video homework and instructors to provide feedback. And also having that large assessment and learning content library from Cengage or other tools like LinkedIn Learning or Films on Demand allows our instructors to very rapidly drop in dynamic, engaging content for our classes when we have to move into a situation like this.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thanks. Thank you both. Those sounds like you were thinking ahead. So John, specifically the Dean of Academic Technology, that sounds like a very important role, especially for today's environment. So how did your role come about at NTC and through this pandemic and the situation, what have you seen has been your most important contribution in that role?
Yeah, so about 13 years ago now, they posted for a position for an online learning multimedia technician, and they didn't know exactly what they wanted me to do at that time. They just knew that they needed somebody to help our faculty with more engaging, more technical technology to implement into their courses. So when I came into that position, I really started to shape out my role in providing and finding some technologies that help our faculty teach effectively within Canvas. And the faculty had some ideas, on what tools or things they could use, but they didn't have anyone that could really help kind of take that to the next step and find out, how does this implement? How can we build that portfolio that is seamless with all the other technologies that we have? There's no overlap. It's affordable. It's easy to use, and it's effective. So my role continued. I moved from learning to IT, where I really built a great relationship with them and a lot of the technical skills, and now back to learning as a dean. And it's really, I feel, a unique role across academics. I haven't seen a similar or identical role at other institutions. But I feel it's really important because it provides, like I mentioned earlier, that bridge between IT and learning, and being right in the dean's meetings, having a seat at the table. I'm able to address learning's concerns and rapidly provide solutions, or work with IT and find those solutions quickly. Whereas previously it was learning having to kind of present to IT, this is some of our concerns or needs, and IT going, oh, hey, this was something we found. So having that person right in the room and being able to have that technical skill to support learning was critical in this time. So to talk about a few of the contributions, I'll high level overview. One thing, we were on Blackboard Collaborate. We moved to Zoom that we're in today. And we did that because it really allowed a lot more engagement and participation from our students. So that was a very large transition, but a very important one that we did. A tool I want to talk about, which is kind of odd and not specific to academics, but I want to talk to it because it's been such a success at NTC, is FormStack. And what that is it's a web form solution, but also workflow solution. So it allows us to create processes, streamline capturing data and approvals. And how we use this to improve our academics is when we had to go entirely remote, we had about a week or so where faculty had to figure out a plan on how to move forward with their courses. So I quickly created a process through FormStack that allowed faculty to share, these are our plans, these are our concerns, this is the support we need, and sent notifications to all the appropriate people, and also aggregated all that data for our deans so that they could quickly see, okay, these are all the classes and programs that are ready to go. These are ones that have concerns that need to work with our academic excellence team that need either content, technical training, whatever it might be. And we were able to do that within that week or two, gather it and provide that support quickly. And now that we're working largely remote in many cases, we continue to use that to automate processes and make sure that things are going smoothly and streamlining those, because we can't be writing on paper and bringing that to the finance office anymore. So this has been a huge thing, and I think helps with academics because we're always struggling with bringing on more people and trying to finagle these processes, and they become person independent or dependent too. Whereas when you build it into this form process, it allows you to kind of remove some of those pieces. And then the last thing I want to talk about is our team was tasked with taking our physics, chemistry, our online science labs, and turning them into an effective way to teach online, because all these are traditionally taught in person. The faculty they prefer that way, of course, and we were tasked with finding the tools and the resources to move it into an online format, and we were able to do that. And in fact, in our general A&P course, we actually improved success rate by 25% because of moving into some online labs. And Cengage actually partners with BioDigital, and we're able to utilize some of those, which is typically a very expensive program, but is included through Cengage Unlimited. And that's been really effective at helping us make these science labs affordable for our students. That's
great. I feel like people will be petitioning for roles like that at other schools once they hear this. So that's fantastic. Yep. Now, Bernard, you play a number of roles at UCC, which includes overseeing online learning. How did this existing work support Union's rapid move to remote learning last spring at you? And how is it supporting your work this fall?
Yeah, great question. So most of our courses, we don't have a large virtual campus, if you will. We only had about 70 courses that were fully online. And, certainly the pandemic accelerated our goals of transitioning to online. It helped faculty get training that they needed to teach online, and to have them better appreciate the importance and workability of online learning, that it can work. And so we provided a lot of that support for the faculty over the past several months, but we transitioned the faculty. We're talking about approximately about 450 faculty teaching over 1,200 classes just in a few days to transition to fully online, what we called at that point emergency remote live. And so they did it. I mean, they were incredible partners in this. We, of course, our teams, our distance ed and our tech teams all supported them, gave them, just like John mentioned, being a resource for them. And we also partnered with our library folks, which I also oversee, but they were instrumental in making sure that all the faculty and students were supported. Same thing with our tutoring center. They were really close to the students, and they were well positioned to connect with the students and leverage some of our LMS system, Canvas specifically, in creating virtual shells for them for tutoring, et cetera. So we continue to train them in pedagogy, online pedagogy, encourage them to reach out to their students, to be proactive. We even formed a team where faculty and staff were reaching out to students to be proactive, making sure they were logging into Canvas. And so that was just a partnership with all the key members of our teams, just trying to ensure that students had the wherewithal to be successful. Wi-Fi, we were just talking about Wi-Fi before we started and the importance of Wi-Fi. Our students needed that. They also needed laptops. So when we worked with our IT, we invested and we purchased 1,500 laptops for the students. So they were well positioned so that they can complete the semester, right? And then they could also enroll in the following semester. So we built in, so we had the loaner laptop program. We had another initiative where we built in computer fees, laptop fees for the full-time students who are registering for the fall, so that financial aid would cover all or most of it if they qualified. So a lot of initiatives that we worked together to make sure students were well taken care of and supported, and faculty, and had the wherewithal to complete.
Yeah.
The semester.
Sounds like it was a team effort to get everything.
It had to be.
Yeah. I'm sure. Sorry, John, NTC serves a largely rural community in Wisconsin, and you have a lot of technical programs. So, what unique challenges does NTC face when delivering these types of programs through remote or hybrid or fully online learning?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 7 regional campuses. We serve a very large district in the center of Wisconsin. And like you mentioned, we do have a lot of technical programs, whether that be something like video production or welding or machine tool, woodworking. So that can become a struggle. With rural, we have a lot of internet issues in our area. So something we actually did was expand our Wi-Fi connection into our parking lots, which is not the ideal situation, having our faculty and students park in our parking lots to use the internet. But when we had to move rapidly in that emergency situation, we were able to do that to provide that internet to our students. We also do, of course, checking out MiFi's, laptops being an issue, like Bernard mentioned. We went ahead and purchased new laptops, and also had a program through our foundation for students to get laptops if they were in need. And now, fortunately, that we are moving back, we have a large amount of our courses still in face-to-face with all the precautions in place. Certainly more online and web conferencing than we did previously, but we're able to bring those students in and go through some of those technical programs. Now, we were able to take some of that, and in fact, it was actually positive, because some areas who felt this can't be done online, some of those science labs, some of the, even culinary is like, we can't do this online, but it's like, you could do a menu, you could have students building menus in some of these different courses, nutrition, and they were able to kind of shift their schedule and cover certain material in an online format effectively, and then come back when time was available on campus to complete some of that. So we've also done things like front loading this semester with labs, holding flexible labs where we can have students coming in throughout the day and having a person there available to assist with grading or maintaining the lab. So we had a lot of those things in place to accommodate our rural students in these technology programs.
Great.
I could jump in, Erin.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think, what John said is right. I mean, so faculty, I think, gained a greater appreciation of the challenges that students face, right? And realizing that, a lot of the courses can be taught online. when they're forced to do it, and I'm putting that in quotes, obviously, and they really wanted to support our students. So I think being pushed to do that helped them to accelerate and realize there's a lot of opportunity there to really move into this more virtual world and think creatively. And another thing that really helped our faculty and our students succeed throughout the spring semester especially, and also moving forward, is realizing that you can't teach everything. Right? You need to prioritize what you're going to teach and maybe think differently on how you're going to teach it. So that was critical. And I think working with the faculty on all of that, the content and the deans, on realizing we need to prioritize, just like John was saying about front loading, to make sure we can get through the critical parts, what is necessary for them to know and learn by the end of this course with learning outcomes, right? That was helpful to have that conversation with them to make sure that students were going to be successful.
That's great. No, that's great. And I mean, and Bernard, you serve a largely urban community, very close to New York City. And, you know, in addition to what you're talking about, are there any other unique challenges that Union faced when delivering these online or remote that you would add to that?
Yeah, and, you know, each of our campus has a different personality, and they're different in different parts of Jersey throughout Union County. One is a very urban county, very close to Newark Airport. And you know, what we see in certain campuses in certain areas, we see a lot more homeless students, students who didn't have the wherewithal to just complete, they don't have food, literally. And they would come here to our campuses for food and place to study and Wi-Fi and all those kind of things. And we realized that a lot of our students didn't have this kind of support at home where they could complete their courses, were embarrassed by keeping the camera on. They were not only just tutoring, but also homeschooling a lot of their siblings. So each of our campuses is different. Challenges, you know, just like New York City, very urban issues. But we used a lot of the CARES funds, over $2 million to support our students through a bunch of different initiatives, including the laptop loaner I mentioned earlier. We also created a different program to allow students to have food and other resources. So there was no reason why no financial reason why students couldn't complete their semester and enroll in the following semester. There were a lot of scholarships that were given. So we had a lot of support of people realizing how important it is to serve our students. And we're a high touch, what we consider a high touch institution where students need a lot of hand holding. Even now at a distance, we try to create that environment, all the parameters necessary to support their learning, even creating face-to-face environments that would be conducive as much as possible for that. Even having library hours where, you know, we're working with OSHE, our state of higher education, and figuring out, well, how much time can we spend in person, right? And the proper distancing necessary to ensure that students had the resources. How late can we keep the library hours open? Because we knew they didn't have computers for our part-time students, Wi-Fi issues. So going back to the Wi-Fi, we knew we had students that were going to the local fast food chain or Walmart to sit outside. We didn't do the parking lot initiative. It was discussed, but we didn't do that. But we knew students were going into these other parking lots and just leveraging their Wi-Fi to complete their work. So they continue to have struggles, but we're supporting them as much as we can in a number of efforts at the institution.
Now, you both raised just a really interesting point around Wi-Fi, because those of us who are lucky enough to have it feel like it's more common, and it's really a struggle for some students. So it's great to hear about what your institutions were doing to address that. So this is a question for both of you. I'll put it back to you, John. In your perspectives, what are the key components of technology infrastructure needed to offer quality learning across modalities at scale? And maybe if you can talk a little bit about how you built this infrastructure at your institutions and what role content plays in that infrastructure, and maybe how your institution partners with Cengage for this key piece of infrastructure. It's like 4 questions.
And I'll try and throw that all into a nice answer for you. So technology, from my perspective, needs to be simple, needs to be easy to use. It needs to be scalable so that as you implement it, you can expand that usage across the college without running into support issues with it. And it also needs to, of course, satisfy a need. It needs to do what they're asking for. So what that started out looking like for us was starting with our LMS, we moved to Canvas. That was the most easy to use tool that we explored across all the other LMSs. And we moved it to of course, Canvas's hosted solution. And that provides us a lot of we no longer have to do all the maintenance, the upgrading with Canvas. That's all handled by Canvas, and we have that support structure in place. From there, we started kind of building out our our academic portfolio of tools that integrate seamlessly with Canvas so that faculty could use these engaging tools, like I mentioned, Zoom, GoReact, Cengage Unlimited, Panopto. So we started adding these tools in for our faculty and training them on how to use it most effectively. And from there, the other part about evaluating and purchasing tools is having the staff at the vendor to really partner with. You need to become a partner with your vendor. A lot of vendors nowadays have customer success advocates who are there to work with you, and you can either have that relationship where it's like, I'm never going to work with this person, or you can really leverage that customer success advocate and have them providing training to groups or meeting with individuals that are looking to get more out of that tool. And we've done that across the board with our various tools because it really adds members to your team. And specifically, Cengage Unlimited, we have an excellent team that truly feels like I have additional people on our academic excellence team who contact individuals directly and are working with them to make sure that their classes are ready. They have access in our Canvas. They are truly additional members, and having vendors or partners like that is so crucial for being able to provide effective support that's scalable across your entire institution. I think I answered most of that.
I think so. Bernard, now, do you remember all 4? Are you good?
I'll just answer. Let me know if I also missed. But I certainly concur with John again. Cengage as a partner before the pandemic, last fall when we first launched the Cengage partnership, the Unlimited partnership, and that was fall 2019, we had the entire team, an army of Cengage folks on our campuses for 3 weeks, during the peak period for our registration and support needed for our faculty, but also our students to make sure that they were well positioned to be successful, that all the connections were made and all the, that was instrumental in making sure that we had a successful launch and implementation. Now this is our 3rd semester with Cengage Unlimited. We've worked with Cengage before, but with Cengage Unlimited, and now most of our faculty are well accustomed and understand the program and how it works. Same thing with the students. But this semester, obviously, because of the pandemic, we actually leveraged Zoom to have Kyle and his team. He's my main liaison. He's wonderful. And in all of Cengage, the entire team is wonderful and just a real partner in all of this, and really helped accelerate and make sure we were successful. And that was part of the success for our students that we initiated last year, and really helped to make sure we were successful this year through the pandemic, or all the resources were there for our students. But going back to some of your other points and questions, Erin, I think, when thinking about our infrastructure, we really wanted to expand our courses, our online courses. So we went from something like 68 courses to now more than double, 150 plus courses now fully online. Similarly with programs, online programs, we had about 8 programs that were fully online last year, and working throughout the year, and especially during this past spring and over the summer, we have over now 18 programs that are fully online. So we're really trying to grow and focus on what students' needs are, asking them, what are you interested in? We're looking at the data. We see the highest enrolled programs, and that's what we focus. When we tried to transition our courses, we looked at courses that were in highest demand. really try to tackle the top 100 courses by enrollment, and then also looking at programs at the same time and where we had the right expertise, and leveraging also the Cengage resources to develop blueprint courses so that we can have these appropriate courses material and have standardized shells, essentially, and infrastructure in there to help our students and faculty teach these courses.
Great, good.
And
Well,
just add one more, Erin, something else that, when we talk about simple, I think, and having flexibility, working with the faculty and also the varied needs of each of these disciplines and divisions, departments, if you will, what their needs are. So we need to be flexible and figure out how do we work together to ensure their success? What are the needs of their students and their faculty? So that relationship is critical.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I haven't got any questions yet, so I'm going to keep going with my questions, not from the audience. Yep, I just double checked. So thinking about the Cengage Unlimited, and again, this is for both of you. Course materials decisions usually happen at the faculty level. And I think it'd be really helpful for folks to hear how your two institutions rolled out the Cengage Unlimited digital subscription model with faculty in a positive way. Hearing about, did you take any specific actions that helped you gain buy-in on this institution-wide initiative? And really, how does student affordability play in helping building a groundswell for this of support for this type of initiative? And you know what, Bernard, I will start with you again. Well, this time. Last time I started with John.
All good. So affordability clearly is, and especially now, but even when we started the program last year, was a big issue and challenge for our students and our community. And our focus is always on transforming our community, one student at a time. That's our mission statement. There was a study done by New Jersey presidents a couple of years back in 2016, and they looked at the affordability challenges, just like I was mentioning homelessness and food insecurity earlier. Cost of textbooks were cost prohibitive. A lot of our students, over a quarter of our students, didn't purchase textbooks or delayed it, significant delay in obtaining those textbooks. So we knew that was a big challenge, and the cost of an average textbook, a brand new textbook, was well over $130. So we wanted to make sure students had access and could afford it and were more likely to be successful because they had the tool needed to be successful in those courses. Anyway, when I presented this to our president, she was all over it, and she really wanted to go big. And we went full scale for all of our courses. We wanted to ensure Cengage materials. Now, we didn't have everything that we needed, but we worked together with Cengage. The Cengage folks worked closely with our faculty, our deans, and the president essentially said, if there are any resources that are available that would make sense for your courses, your discipline, please adopt them. And our faculty were on board. They were completely committed. They're great, willing to try to figure out ways, taking, one of the pieces that I really love, and a faculty member actually pointed this out last year when we were doing a lot of the professional development around Cengage. He said he teaches at ESL, and he said, I don't have to pick a specific textbook. I can take pieces of various textbooks, put them together, the best in both worlds, where I wouldn't have done that before. I wouldn't have had a student buy 4 textbooks. Now with Cengage, I can piece the various materials, patchwork them into really what makes sense for me as an instructor. And I really love that perspective. And that's what a lot of our faculty have done. Some have adopted, the straight Psychology 101 textbook, and there are many choices. But then others felt like patchworking made most sense for their courses. So this really helped. We have a lot of adjuncts. So once the full-time faculty figured out what they needed to be successful, students needed to be successful, the resources in their courses, that helped our adjuncts also take over and adopt those same resources. And that helped us ensure standardization and some quality control. So our faculty were all over this, really supportive, and that called for a lot of change, which wasn't easy. It varied depending on the division and the departments, but all of them were really involved in it, working closely with the deans to ensure proper adoption And we've been increasing every semester working on that. So now we have over 250 of our courses fully adopted using Cengage materials. And then we have another percentage using OER, which is great. But what's one of the things that are wonderful about Cengage is they continue to curate the materials, where our faculty just don't have the bandwidth to continuously update and check all those resources. So it's a partnership. And again, that's the only way we're going to be successful and ensure student success.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear it.
I'll add just a few things to that. So one piece is, like you were saying, Cengage helps with curating. They'll help you go through your curriculum map and actually align specific books to different areas. So that's really helpful, because obviously our faculty are always telling us that they need more time. That's the largest concern we hear all the time, is we don't have enough time. So having Cengage there to assist with kind of finding the right materials with our library team is incredibly effective. The other thing we did, of course, with affordability, faculty understand the need for affordability, and providing Cengage Unlimited was another option. It wasn't that we were taking away options necessarily. It was really providing, hey, you now have additional affordable options that you can have. We also have some faculty advocates. We have our faculty coach who, it does such a great job with the product, but can also speak well to it. And there was a few other faculty in pocket areas that were able to speak kind of the grassroots in the different program and schools. And then the last thing is, there's really an extra level of support. If you choose a Cengage product in your course, you are now not only having our team assisting you, but you have Cengage's team to assist you. They certainly can choose a different book if it's affordable, but they don't have that extra hand to come in and help them, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, email, whatever that support might be, directly in Canvas assisting them. And that was a big selling point for our faculty.
Good. Thank you both for that. So we have heard from our institutional partners that COVID is speeding up the rate of change in higher education exponentially. Would love to hear, where do you see positive change happening at your institution due to the pandemic? It's always good to find the good in some of these situations. And how are partners like Cengage supporting that change? And I will go with Bernard.
Yeah, we want, of course, make the best of the situation. And as I said earlier, it really has helped a lot of our faculty, push them to realize the opportunity that lays ahead, figuring out new ways to reimagine higher education in their courses, whether it's a chemistry course and how chemistry can be taught virtually, realizing the importance of technology, having our students have the technology and the wherewithal to complete their semesters, and the importance of trying to connect with our students. And they've always been really good at it, but I think it's a heightened level of appreciation to connect with our students, given all their challenges. What do they need? So just being proactive and reaching out to the students, just calling them and just having that engagement, figuring out new ways to engage them where they might not, if they're not in person, how do you still connect with students? That's been a challenge, but I think a lot of them have been figuring out ways, what makes sense for them to help students in a different environment and modality. So because they have, our faculty and our adjuncts have their own struggles. So how do they help students concurrently, despite or because of their appreciation of the struggles? So I think faculty have been more willing to explore those options than they ever before, more creative in ways they're supporting our students.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, COVID has been very difficult for everybody, but from a technology perspective, it's a little exciting. And as a dean of academic technology, I see all of these vendors seeing this as a huge opportunity. A lot of technology vendors were kind of like, all right, we're doing what we need to do. Everything is working. People are using the product. And then all of a sudden, everyone needed the product. And they're like, oh, we gotta make this the best thing ever. So we're seeing rapid improvements and development on all these different tools that we've been using, because they see this as such a critical moment for them to make sure that their product is the one. And you can see in various areas where certain products are winning because of their creativity and their innovation. So it's a real big time of innovation and technology. So that's exciting from my front. And as Bernard mentioned, faculty are becoming more open. And we didn't have to tell them to do it. So we kind of get to blame COVID. We can say we didn't force you. We have to because of that over there. So they're coming to us for help, and we get to be the heroes as opposed to the other way around. So there's a really positive relationship there in using technology. And there are cases where faculty are identifying this works better in a remote aspect, because it allows the student to create this video that if we were face to face, I wasn't having them do that. So now not only did they create this video, but now all the students are providing feedback to that video right in line with when they did it. You're not going to have the student in the middle of your presentation say something and say, hey, you're not, looking up. But now, because it's in this other format, that is a possibility that they weren't experiencing in their traditional format of teaching. So there's a lot of positives from a technology and innovation and teaching aspect that would have been a much bigger struggle had we not had this pandemic. It's weird to call it an opportunity, but don't let a pandemic go to waste, I guess.
And I like that, John. I think you're right. Like we become the heroes, the support heroes, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the bad guy. We need to move more online, which is what I was trying to do before. I was nudging faculty, let's get more online courses and programs. I was being the annoying person trying to push and push and push. But now it's like, it's already online, right? So they're asking for all these resources. How do I teach this? All right. So we're better positioned and able to engage the faculty and supporting them so that they're successful and their students are successful, right? So we've become the heroes. People like John and his team, I think is exactly right. So it's a great feeling and a great opportunity to do that and help in different ways instead of being the bad guy, right? Being the nudge.
That's great. That's a great perspective. So I'll ask one last question. I think then we'll be out of time, and I think I can guess the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. So do you each see online learning continuing at the present level at your institution, or is this a passing, pandemic scenario that we'll all go back to the regular ways afterwards? John, I'll go ahead and give it to you.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we did a lot of online prior. We were doing about 20% of our classes online, fully online, and we had about looks like 3 or 4% via web conferencing. We've almost tripled our web conferencing. So many courses are being done exclusively through Zoom, entirely remote. And I see that continuing because there are advantages to having everybody in an environment like this, as opposed to half face-to-face, half in Zoom, and half at a regional campus in front of a TV attending. That just adds a lot of complexity. We did, of course, have our fully online jump up about 8% or so with the pandemic once we started kind of coming back to campus. And I expect that people, because they were opened up to that and they see the advantages and they see where it makes sense, that's going to continue to expand because this kind of opened the doors to making that effective. So
yeah, great.
Yeah, and I agree here. Certainly it's going to continue. We went from approximately 10% fully online to now close to 20%, almost 20% fully online. So we plan on continuing that. We certainly still want to have our face-to-face offerings. We know students want that, need that, and we're going to continue that, assuming we're still allowed to. But because of the pandemic, we moved to also not only increasing to fully online courses, but also what we're calling remote live or synchronous courses, thanks to our technology. We use Cisco WebEx, and that we this was the first time we ever offered it for the fall. and it accounted for something like 2/3 of our courses. So we're going to continue that remote live for the spring, the upcoming spring semester, and the fall and the winter. But we're experimenting with other options, high flex, and I'm sure that's in John's wheelhouse too. But it's novel to our institution. But the hybrid flexible approach is something that we're also exploring based on what students are asking and leveraging some of the technology that we've built around the institution. We've invested in a lot of the technology, we have a Cisco enhanced classroom, about 30 of them across all our campuses. So we think leveraging all the technology and limitations, this is a perfect storm to really try to experiment and reimagine higher education. So we want to continue online learning. We want to try to explore other modalities that make sense for our students. There are going to be challenges for our instructors, certainly trying to teach in this modality. But we're here to support them, be their heroes, and try to help as many students and faculty as we can.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you both very much for your time today. I'm sure everyone learned a lot from listening. It's always great to learn from peers and others who are trailblazing and figuring things out. And, that helps when all these institutions are going through it. So I want to thank you for both your partnership with Cengage, but more so today for this session. And if anyone wants to learn more, you can certainly visit the school's website or cengage.com/institutions, where you can learn more about how we could all work together and about some of the great best practices that these schools have implemented. So thank you both very much. Have a wonderful day and the rest of your week.
Thank you. Thank you to all.
Thank you very much, Erin.
Take care.